into the dark. The air was thick with the stench of decay and stagnant water. Brother Sergeant Tybalt and Brother Kazarul advanced through the sewers, the echoes of fast-approaching clawed feet reverberating off the grimy walls all around them. The advanced vision provided by their helmets cut through the oppressive darkness, revealing glimpses of skittering shadows as they closed in. As they reached an intersection, a pack of gene-stealers leapt from the shadow-filled tunnels on all sides. Tybalt and Kazaral's bolters roared to life, the confined space amplifying their thunderous booms. The sharp, acrid smell of gunpowder mingled with the metallic tang of the Xeno's blood that splattered the narrow tunnel walls. Bright muzzle flashes illuminated the darkness in brilliant, yet brief staccato bursts, revealing the multi-limbed alien horrors in all their revolting, inhuman splendor. "Watch your flank, Kazaral," Tybalt barked, his voice cutting through the chaos with the authority of experience. Kazaral grinned beneath his helmet. "I've got it, Sergeant. We'll crush these bugs like the vermin they are." He swung his chainsword in a wide arc, the weapon's growl mingling with a gene-stealer's dying scream as it chewed through its carapace and cleaved through bone and sinew until the monster fell away in two separate pieces. But still the frenzied Xenos came. Tybalt's movements were precise and disciplined, every shot and swing of his power sword executed with lethal efficiency. His eyes, cold and calculating, missed nothing. Kazaral, in contrast, fought with a mix of skill and daring. With a well-placed shot, he blew off a gene-stealer's leg at the knee, and it tumbled to the ground in front of him. He raised his power-armored foot and brought it down on its head that burst like a gore-filled balloon. Kazaral let out a contemptuous scoff and laugh. "Careful, Kazaral," Tybalt advised. "Have no fear, Brother Sergeant," Kazaral replied. "I know exactly how to handle these abominations." "I don't doubt it. But there's no need to score more trophies. Your head's big enough already. Any more, and it won't fit inside your helmet." Tybalt quipped, his tone tinged with rare amusement. Kazaral laughed again as he deflected a gene-stealer's claws with a swift parry. "Just trying to keep things interesting, Brother Sergeant." After dispatching the last of their attackers, they took a moment to assess their situation and reload. The tunnel was now littered with the corpses of gene-stealers. "More than anticipated, and I don't think that's the last of them," Tybalt muttered, more to himself. Kazaral nodded his agreement, his gaze scanning the darkness of the tunnels ahead. "Let's hope so. I'm just getting warmed up." The sewers were a maze of claustrophobic tunnels, their walls slick with grime and festooned with hanging cables and dripping pipes. Every step sent ripples through the green foul water that lapped beneath their feet. They kept heading in the same direction until they entered a vast, circular chamber. The air was thick with the oppressive stench of decay. The walls were smeared with dark, congealed blood, each streak a silent scream of agony of a life brutally cut short. The floor was littered with piles of human remains. Bodies were twisted into unnatural shapes, their flesh savagely torn with large chunks devoured. Limbs were scattered like grotesque puzzle pieces, and entrails spilled out from mutilated cadavers to trail across the filthy, ooze-covered floor. "Squad Cerberus to dispatch," Tybalt said over the Vox. "We've located the missing work gang in some kind of feeding ground. All dead. Respond." But the only reply was the hiss of static. Kazaral knelt beside one of the bodies, his expression hidden by his helmet, but his uncharacteristic silence spoke volumes. Tybalt walked to his side. "As expected, brother, our depth blocks our signal. But our duty is clear. We continue on and purge the infestation." Kazaral rose, his gaze sweeping the grisly scene one last time. They left and advanced deeper into the tunnel system. Claw marks on the walls and floor became more frequent, indicating they were heading in the right direction, and soon came upon a barricade blocking a wide tunnel. Constructed from rusted metal, rotten wood and other debris, it stood as a crude but practical defensive position. Behind it, the twisted forms of gene-stealer hybrids moved, their misshapen bodies a grotesque blend of human and alien features. As the two Space Marines approached, the hybrids opened fire with primitive stubbers and autoguns. But their bullets pinged harmlessly off the ceramite armor of the Astartes to ricochet away into the darkness. Tybalt gave the order, and they both charged the barricade. With a battle cry, Kazural slammed his shoulder and smashed straight through the rotten wood and trash barrier, sending splinters and debris flying in all directions. Tybalt was right behind him through the breach, his power sword humming with lethal energy. The hybrids, wild-eyed and crazed, threw themselves at the Space Marines in their fanatical devotion to protect the brood. Despite their fervor and numbers, they were no match for the superior combat skills and teamwork of the Astartes. To the sound of bolter fire and chainsword revs, they hacked through limbs and torsos. Tybalt and Kazural maneuvered with deadly choreographed movements, each covering the other's back, as they reaped a bloody swathe through the hybrid defenders. Amid the chaos, one of them pounced from a pipe outlet above them towards Tybalt. "Tybalt! Watch out!" Kazural shouted, but it was too late. As Tybalt span to decapitate his assailant mid-air, a crude bomb it was holding detonated. In the enclosed space, the explosion was deafening. The hybrid was obliterated in an orange and white flash as Tybalt was flung back to crash into the tunnel wall with a force that would have killed a lesser being. Enraged, Kazural redoubled his efforts, his chainsword a blur as he tore through the remaining hybrids. As soon as the last of them lay dead at his feet, he rushed to Tybalt's side. The brother sergeant was injured, his armor scorched and cracked, with the ceramite helmet dented and warped by the blast. With a twist, Kazural tore the helmet free. A wicked gash across Tybalt's face bled profusely, but he was alive. "You're looking pretty banged up, brother sergeant," Kazural said. Tybalt grunted, pain evident in his voice. "You should see the other guy. Now help me up. We have a duty to perform." Kazural pulled Tybalt to his feet. The brother sergeant's injuries were severe, but thanks to his Astartes enhancements, his wounds were already starting to close, and he was recovering quickly. He tentatively put weight on his left leg, which was broken in 2 places. "Are you fit to continue?" Kazural asked, concerned. "Nothing that can't be compensated for. We finished the mission," Tybalt said, and pointed to the damaged aquila on the chest plate of his armor. "This affront must be repaid in blood. We push the advantage of surprise while we still have it." Tybalt mentally separated himself from the pain of his body, and with his power armor supporting his weight, they moved on, their pace unhindered by his injury. As they progressed further underground, the air became increasingly fetid and musky, filled with the stench of decay and a foulness like the den of some mangy beast. The walls were coated in a thick black grime, and the water beneath their feet had thickened into a putrid gelatinous sludge. As they neared another large chamber, their heightened senses detected a group of pure-strain gene-stealers moving ahead of them. Tybalt silently signaled Kazural to set an ambush. They took cover behind a large outcropping of rusted pipes and valves, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. It didn't take long. A line of scampering gene-stealers appeared, trotting in single file, their claws clicking menacingly as they scraped across the hard stone of the walls and slime-covered floor. Once they were all in the kill zone, the 2 Space Marines opened fire simultaneously with their bolters. The first wave of gene-stealers was caught off guard by the sudden barrage, their bodies torn apart by the explosive rounds. With the immediate threat neutralized, Tybalt and Kazural rushed forward into the chamber from where the gene-stealers had emerged. The space opened up into a large octagonal room with a high domed ceiling, shrouded in darkness high above. The floor was carpeted with shattered human bones, which crunched ominously under the footfalls of their power armor. In the center of the room, hunched and monstrous, loomed the massive gene-stealer Patriarch. The Patriarch was a hulking abomination, its bloated, muscular body sheathed in thick, chitinous plates that gleamed dully in the dim light. A crest of jagged spines crowned its elongated skull, and its 4 arms, each ending in wickedly curved claws, flexed with sinister purpose. Its maw, a grotesque expanse of razor-sharp teeth, parted in a nightmarish grin, dripping with viscous saliva, before it charged at the 2 intruders that had dared to enter its domain. Tybalt and Kazurul held their ground, bringing up their bolters to unleash a hail of death. But the Patriarch was both resilient and lightning fast, despite its enormous size. It pounced forward with terrifying speed, delivering a backhanded swipe at Kazurul's weapon. The blow was so forceful that Kazurul spun half around, his bolter sent hurtling away to clatter against a distant wall. The Patriarch then turned its attention to Tybalt, unleashing a psychic scream so intense it staggered him backward. Pain lanced through Tybalt's skull, but he fought through it, forcing himself to aim his bolter and fire. Some of the shots struck home in the beast's side, but it didn't stop its enraged charge. The monstrous creature barreled into him, and Tybalt tried to brace himself against the impact. But his broken leg buckled beneath him and he crumpled to the ground. Kazurul saw the Patriarch towering over his fallen brother and sprang into action. He drew his chainsword and leapt onto the monster's back. The roaring teeth of the weapon bit into the thick plating that covered the Patriarch's body. With his free hand, Kazurul braced himself as he strained to thrust his chainsword deeper. The Patriarch reared up, thrashing about wildly. It reached back with its razor-sharp talons, raking at Kazurul in an attempt to dislodge him. The claws tore through his armor, gouging into his flesh, but he bore through the pain as his chainsword inched towards the monster's black heart. Tybalt raised himself up on his one good leg and drew his power sword. With a cry of defiance, he lunged with a great upward thrust that drove the crackling energy weapon into the beast's exposed underbelly. As its energy field sliced through the creature's thick hide, the Patriarch let out an ear-piercing shriek. Black ichor sprayed from the wound, splattering Tybalt's already burnt and blackened armor as he too pushed his blade deeper. The Patriarch convulsed violently, its movements becoming more erratic and desperate. Kazurul, sensing the end was near, twisted and yanked the chainsword mincing through the monster's insides. With a final thunderous roar, the Patriarch's strength gave out. Kazurul slipped off its back, landing beside Tybalt as it collapsed to the ground, its massive form twitching as its life ebbed away in a torrent of ichor that pooled beneath it. "Are you all right, brother?" Tybalt asked, as he saw the tears and rents in the back of his armor and the bloodied mess of his body underneath. "You should see the other guy," Kazurul wheezed, repeating Tybalt's words. "So, which of us struck the killing blow?" "Clearly it was the power sword," Tybalt said, and raised up his power weapon that hissed as its energy field evaporated the last of the Patriarch's blood from the blade. "Far be it from me to question you, Brother Sergeant," Kazurul objected, "but I believe the wound caused by the chainsword is what brought it low." "Then let's call this one a draw, brother." Tybalt grinned and wiped black ichor from his face. "This trophy belongs to us both."
I hope you enjoyed the video. I was aiming for a kind of action pulp sci-fi story, like the ones you might find in a White Dwarf. If you did enjoy it, please give it a like. We have much more to come, so if you'd like to hear more, then consider subscribing to become a member of our ever-growing imperium of subscribers. It really means so much to us. Thank you. Until our next adventure.